Hey, this is John. I want to make this quick clip for you before the market closes, because sometimes the market closes and then you can't actually get accurate pricing data if you're looking back historically on stocks, especially shorter term positions. Because this position right here is just absolutely crazy. I mean, it is just insane. And so the play here was Zoom, ZM, not any other company. I actually saw this stock a little bit before the market opened today because there was a lot of unusual options activity. A lot of people were buying puts around the 165 strike price and around the 155 strike price. And when a stock is opening the day at 180 bucks or so, and you see people buying 165, 155 puts, something is gotta be going on here. And so earlier on in the day, basically I was looking at this and I saw it as sort of this wedge play. And what's cool is I thought kind of the best way to trade this in terms of risk versus reward. I was just kind of looking at all the options on Zoom, and this is why you have to kind of do this before the market expires, because you won't be able to see this. But it was basically the 170 puts. The 170 puts were really the ones that looked really nice, and so I'll kind of put those puts here for you just because you can see the actual price movement of the puts. And so anyway, in the morning I was really liking these guys on this wedge right here. Want to make sure you can see this. Yeah, so I want to short it right here. So right here the puts were about 20 cents. Here they were about 30, 35, 40 cents. And they went up to about 60 cents right around here. And then they kind of just reversed. So for the rest of the day, basically, the market, it had a little bit of a big dip in the morning. If you can pull up the SPY here. But after that big dip, what was cool is if you look at it on the 5-minute chart, I mean, this was a crazy trade on the SPY. It was actually really nice. It was almost 300%. Actually, I think one of the contracts, the 282 calls, went up about 10x for a very small period of time. It was actually a W setup, right? So this was a W, and it was a little bit of a delayed W, but it was a W setup that kind of finalized in the last couple of hours of trading. And you just take this height right here and you add it to the top. And in this scenario, you add it to the top twice, and that's how you get your profit target. That's how you get your final exit point on the calls. Really great trade. Again, 10x trade. But that was just what the market was doing, right? So the market went down in the morning. Zoom kind of went up and down in the morning. And then, at about 11:30, Zoom broke out, which is at the same time that the market kind of started to look like it was bottoming for the day at 11:30. So that was just kind of what made Zoom kind of have this drop. But then, I was trying to get in this trade. I totally didn't get filled, and I felt so silly about it. I was trying to bid up here at about 20 cents. It was a tight trade, and I just didn't get filled. It would have been about a 300%. I would have closed probably about at least a third of it there, closed the rest of it here. But I did not get filled on that part of it. And then this is where it starts to get crazy, okay? So, like we said earlier, the market starts going up a ton, okay? And I don't know what's up with Zoom, but basically they're following the market, going up and up and up and up. And then they hit this upper VWAP band, right? So here's the upper VWAP band, here's the stock, and they hit upper VWAP and they bounce off of it. And then they come back and they test upper VWAP again, and this is at about, 2 o'clock, 2:10. And at the same time, because this is just highly correlated with the SPY, the SPY is basically making new highs and just exploding, okay? And so because of that, you're trading puts originally, right? So these puts, they go from being worth, $1, $1.20. When we were looking at them at 11.45, the highest they were worth really was about 60 cents. They go from being worth about half a dollar, and I'll kind of zoom in here so you can see this. They're trading here, and you can tell they're trading because there's volume, right? So on this candle, the volume is about 500 contracts. On this candle, the volume was about 150 or so contracts. Just to put that in perspective, 150 contracts at 10 cents or so. That's about 10 cents times 100 because it's 100 leverage multiple. So that's $10 times 100 is $1,000, right? So it's not like a massive amount of volume. This was probably one of the better candles. This candle had 500 at about 10 cents, give or take. So that's about, give or take, $5,000 in volume in terms of USD equivalent. So not a ton of people are messing around with this contract, with these puts, because obviously, the stock's going up a bunch and people think it's just going to go up and up and up and up. Because if you look at the SPY's went up and up and up and up and up. But the difference is the SPY is a market index, right? So the SPY can go through VWAP, and individual stocks can go through VWAP and explode without anyone batting an eye. But here's where stuff starts to get crazy with Zoom, okay? They go up and up and up and up and up until they hit what? They hit upper VWAP band. And when they hit upper VWAP band, I mean, these contracts are done. They hit a penny. They're trading at a penny right here. there was about 100 shares that got traded at a penny, which for those of you who don't know, it's about the equivalent of 100. So you do a penny times 100, which is the leverage multiple of the contract, and that's $1 per contract. And then somebody traded about 100 of them at a penny. Maybe it was 100 of them at maybe 5 cents, maybe 4 cents. I wasn't looking directly at it here, but you're looking at somebody getting filled here for about 100 contracts, say at $3 a contract. It's about give or take $300. If you get filled at the low here at a penny, which had a volume on this candle of about 70, that's about 70 contracts, right? So 70 contracts. It's gonna be $1 each at a penny, so it's gonna be about $70. So for me, just looking at this, like, I totally, spoiler alert, guys, totally missed this trade. I was swapping accounts when this was going on, and in the 5 minutes it took me to swap accounts, this stock dropped like 10%, and it was just insane. But anyway, so it hits upper VWAP right here, and it fails, and then it hits it again. And what's cool is the Bollinger Bands usually will expand past the upper VWAP band most of the time, okay? If it doesn't, look, I'm not saying this is like 100% super easy trade, because this is not a super easy trade. If you look at the options, they literally went from like 40 cents to 1 penny. I mean, they tanked, big tank. I mean, massive tank, okay? But here's where this thing gets crazy, okay? For me, like, I totally missed it. Like I said, I was changing my account. So I was on my main account here, and I had to switch accounts because I ran out of day trade. So I was switching over to this other account that I'm on right now. So I was switching over to this account when this happened. So I totally missed this. I didn't have any orders because I was switching accounts. My fault, completely my fault. Totally missed it. But check this out. I mean, this is just crazy, okay? So you short this thing based off of this hammer candle right here, and then based off of it going into upper VWAP. I mean, it's just crazy, okay? So just to put this in perspective, okay? My target earlier on the day, if you look at the wedge, right? And I'll kind of put this here so you can see it a little bit better. My target basically was I was going to take kind of the height of this wedge, you know, from about here to about here. And you just kind of subtract that from the bottom, and you kind of get about here to here. And that puts you right around the 169 mark, the 165 mark. And I was using the 165 mark just because I saw a lot of the options contracts, a lot of the unusual options activity around that price target at the beginning of the day. And I also had a little bit of a more aggressive target at 155, which again was based off of the unusual options activity at the 155 strike for the puts, okay? So for me, like, I see this consolidation right here. I am in that trade like no one's business. It is like, oh, so good. My gosh, I really wish I got filled on it. I did not get filled on it. And this thing crashes through VWAP. It bounces right off the VWAP bands. It crashes right off the Bollinger Band. And it just goes straight through VWAP. And like when you bounce off of one of the VWAP bands towards another one of the VWAP bands, that's when stuff gets crazy, because this will move so quick. And it will continue to go on lower VWAP. And it goes down and it goes down and it goes down. And within 17 minutes, I think Zoom lost like 10% of its value as a company. Maybe close to 20% of its value as a company. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. These options contracts went from being 1 penny to zoom out, goes to $1, goes to $2, goes to $3, goes to $4, goes to $5, goes to $6, goes to $7, goes to $8, goes to $9, goes to $10, goes to $11, goes to $12, almost $12.50. I mean, absolutely insane. I think they closed, well, obviously, the stock closed at 158.8, right? So because these are 170 puts, that means that they're worth 10 plus 1.2, so about 11.2 each, so $11.20. So for those guys, let me pull out my trusty calculator. You buy 100 contracts for, you know, give or take, you know, $100, maybe $200, maybe $300 tops. I'd say a couple $100. Buy 100 contracts here, and at the end of the day, this stock goes straight down, like no halt whatsoever. Your contracts are going to be worth, you know what, 11, you say 1120, right? Times 100 contracts times 100 for the multiple leverage ratio on options contract. You're looking at $112,000 in like an hour. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It was so crazy. I couldn't freaking believe it. I was literally in these contracts, and my target was here. I was around 20 cents instead of a penny. So for me, and I just want you guys to understand, like, crazy this is. If we pull up this percent gain calculator and we start at 1 penny, and we go to, you know, 11, maybe like 11.2, which is what it closed at. Like, I'm not gonna lie. For me, like, if I was in this position, which, God, I wish I was, I probably would have closed some of it here at like 240. At 240, it was about $7. It was $10 at one point. I honestly probably would have closed like a third of it at $7, just because that's literally $70,000 from a couple $100 investment. I just want you guys to understand this. From a penny to what it closed at, right? $1.12. That's a percent change of 900,000%. I mean, it's like 112,000%. It's just insane. Absolutely crazy. You get in these contracts and you go from a penny to like, I mean, that's the equivalent of taking like $100, right? And that $100 turns into $112,000. It's crazy. It's insane. It was just awesome, right? It was all based off of the stock going to upper VWAP and then bouncing off upper VWAP. And then I think like some giant hedge fund or some crazy dude who owned 1 million shares of stock, like something like that, like just dump. Someone sold a ton of this stock and it just tanked. And because it tanked, these puts absolutely freaking exploded. You know, it went to $100,000 from, I mean, it's literally hundreds of thousands of percentage gains. It's just insane. I looked at the news like when this was happening because I caught wind of this when they were like 4, and by the time I knew what was going on, they were basically at 9 because I just switched the accounts and get all the contracts up and pull up the products and change all the charts to Zoom. But by the time I actually saw what was going on here, I pulled up my phone instantly to figure out like what the news was. Pulled up, you know, Yahoo Finance, and I didn't find anything. So there was like no news. It was literally, and I also had the dark pools up. I didn't see anybody selling massive quantities of it. There wasn't even any unusual options activity in it. It was just pure equity selling, and there was no news. It was nothing. It was just someone selling stock. Looking at it now, it looks like there's some kind of class action, and that came out about an hour ago. This was, you know, it's you know 6 o'clock, so that would have been at 5 o'clock, and this was at 2 o'clock, right? So I don't think that's what it was. I really, and the class action isn't that bad. I read through it. It's basically just like, if you lost money, sucks for you, will help you, you know. It was really vague. It was not a very specific class action. I really don't think that's what it was. And there's no other news. I mean, the other news is just like, you know, they're exploding, and Zoom was down a little bit for the day, but I mean, not particularly much until this happened. And I know it's not that big, right? Like they moved 6%, and they moved 10%, they moved 12%. But you gotta understand, when you leverage that with options, it's literally hundreds of thousands of, I mean, this is $1 million trade. You put $1,000 in. You put $1,000 in, you get $1.2 million out. You don't even have to sell. You can just hold it till expiration. I mean, it's just crazy. Absolutely awesome position here. It was all just based off of coming to this previous high and also this upper VWAP, and it just tanked like straight down. Absolutely just phenomenal use here of VWAP bands and Bollinger Bands, and a very effective trade. So something that you just don't see that often. It's really... it's just kind of crazy. You had a really similar thing happen last week on Shopify, where the stock, you know, hit upper VWAP, it hit the Bollinger Bands, then it just totally failed and then crossed over VWAP. Really similar setup here. It went from 410 to 380, which doesn't look like much, but you trade an option on these contracts are about $3, $4. So this is actually about a 10x trade, give or take 700% gain. Again, I'm not saying that's 100,000% like Zoom was today. Very rare that you see contracts going for a penny, especially good contracts. Like the 170 puts were not particularly crazy contracts. They were not like super insane, ludicrous level. And maybe for me, it was because I saw the 165 unusual options activity. I saw the 150 unusual options activity. Oh God, I wish I could have jumped in this trade. I definitely did not get filled, but again, just a really crazy cool trade. Basically have a bounce on upper Bollinger Bands and a bounce on upper VWAP. So really cool stuff, guys. Hope you can use this as some massive inspiration. It has been a very long time since I've seen a position go from a penny to $12, and I gotta say, it's really refreshing to see. These contracts expire today, so this is it. Like this is the position. It's not going to move anymore. And just a really nice example of looking at unusual options activity on 0 DTE, so that the options that expired to date, right? The trades I was looking at that gave me these price levels, they were based on people buying puts that expired today. So like it had to get to this price today or they would lose all of their money. The risk on this trade is basically 100% of the capital invested. You know, you buy it at a penny. I mean, you either make money on it or, you know, you don't. You know, it's one or the other. It expires worthless or it expires worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. And, you know, you can get out at a penny if there's enough volume, but usually you're risking a vast bulk of your capital on this trade. So definitely why it was sort of like riskier. But again, turning, you know, $1,000 into $1.2 million, turning even $100 into $112,000. It's just really crazy. I think even with aggressive partial selling on the way down, you could get an average fill price of about $100 or about $10 a contract. For 100 contracts, that's, you know, $10,000 or $100,000, which is just so awesome because it just moves so quickly. So that's really the big takeaway here with this really awesome trade on Zoom. It's really, really, really cool. If you guys want to learn more about personal finance investing, if you want to learn more about stocks, and make sure that you can make trades like this and absolutely crush it, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I have a playlist on my here about stock investing. You should totally watch that. And also, you should totally snag a free copy of my national best-selling book called 9 to Noon. It's all about how to trade stocks and absolutely crush it. And you can get a free copy at 9tonoonsecrets.com. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you can make a trade similar to this. I see these trades happen usually once every 2 weeks, once every month, something like that. You have a killer trade with this, and it all just comes down to consistently being there, making the investments. And I missed out on it today, but it's just a matter of time till you hit one of these. You make a couple million, but I mean, it's just really cool. So that's kind of the big message for that, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching again, and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in another trading session, and hopefully another really great position like this. Thank you. Bye.